I'm Heather from Going Batty, and today we are making apple butter. Alright, so apple butter is one of my kids' favorite things. They love it. I have a daughter who will sit with a pint jar and eat it by the spoonful. So I'm going to show you how I was taught to make apple butter. And I will, along the way, like if you decide like you want to peel your apples and you know, core them and stuff like that, then I will tell you techniques that you can use, because when I make mine, I don't peel or core my apples. I have found that, or I was told by a very wise grandmother, that a lot of your flavor is actually in the peel. So she always left hers on and then used a food mill afterward to get the skins and the peels and the seeds and all that stuff out. I've got about 5 pounds of apples here, and I will show those to you. And we're in the middle of school also, if you can see here, so there's a computer up. But I got about 5 pounds of apples. These are Cortland apples. They're pretty good for like making sauces and stuff like that. And they've been washed, and we're just gonna cut them in quarters. All right, so I misjudged the size of the pot that I needed. This is actually what my kind of medium-sized stock pot. I'm gonna actually need to get my bigger one. So now I'm gonna add my water to this, and I'm gonna add about 3 to 4 cups of water. It actually doesn't have to cover them. It just has to have enough water in it to get them to start cooking. The other thing that we're going to add to this is we're going to add about a cup of apple cider vinegar to it, just to kind of help with the flavor of it. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. We've got our lid on this, and we are going to let this cook for about 30 minutes. What you're going to do is you're going to need to kind of take the lid off. You're going to need to stir it around and make sure that all of your apples are getting cooked and they're really soft. All right, so our apples are almost done cooking, so I'm going to go ahead and assemble my food mill. Now, if you don't want to use a food mill like I have, one that attaches to the table and has a hand crank, if you have an attachment for like your KitchenAid mixer, you can use that. If you have one of those hand mills where it looks kind of like a pot and has the crank on the top, you can use one of those. If you want to peel and core your apples, you can cook them this way and then just take an immersion blender to it and blend it up real well. But this is how I like to do it, because I can just skip the step of peeling and coring the apples. So I'll show you how we put this together. So we have our food mill all assembled and put together. I put a shallow dish here because I need something shorter to catch stuff. Now this one is ancient. This one is probably, I think, either from the 50s or the 60s. This was my grandmother's, and then my aunt's, and now it's mine. But it doesn't have like the splatter guard on the back. So with this one, we have to be careful that when we crank it, we don't crank it too fast and it splatters out all over everything. But we're gonna go ahead and start putting our apples in here, and then Jack is gonna be my muscle, and he's going to crank it. So we're gonna go ahead and start that process. All right, so I have my cooked apples here. I have my bowl here, which will catch all of the peels and the cores and the seeds and everything, and squish them out this way. And then this is where, right now it's just gonna be applesauce is gonna go, but we'll take this, and then I'll have another pan that we'll put everything that comes out of here into, and then I'll show you what to do after that. So I don't know if you can see this, but our applesauce has actually got kind of a pinkish hue to it. And that is because we left the skins on it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to dump this into our pot here, back here. And then I'm going to run the peels and everything back through it again, just to make sure that I get all the yummy goodness out of them. And I'll probably do that a couple of times so that there's just absolutely no liquid left in them at all. All right, so I sent that through 2 more times. And if you can look at this in there, I mean, that's actually almost dry to the touch. So we got almost every bit of liquid out of it. and sending it through 2 more times, I got that much more stuff. And that's really thick, and that's gonna help thicken our apple butter. So now it's time to take our applesauce and start to add the spices that's gonna make it apple butter. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add our sugar. This is 3½ cups of white sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And we're gonna stir that up and kind of break up the brown sugar. Then we're gonna start adding our spices. So we have our cinnamon, our cloves, our nutmeg, and our allspice, and then we have the zest of 1 lemon, and then the juice of 1 lemon. And that actually has some seeds that got into it, so we're going to strain it through our fingers and get the seeds out. There we go. And now we're going to stir this up. And we're gonna put this on a low heat. So we're looking at, you know, like a 2 or 3 on your stove. So a low heat, and this is gonna cook on a low heat for like 6 hours is what you're gonna do, because you want it to get that real deep, dark brown color to it. And then at the very end, we'll add some vanilla to it. But we don't wanna add the vanilla now because it'll cook it all out. So we're gonna go ahead and let this cook down, and it's going to be about 6 hours with this. And you're going to want to keep an eye on it. You're going to want to stir it every once in a while so it doesn't stick to the bottom of your pan. But yeah, this is pretty much it. So, and then we'll can it. We are now ready to put our apple butter into our jars. Now, if you can look here, it's like dark brown. And this is beautiful. My daughter's already tasted it and said it is wonderful. So we're gonna go ahead. I've sterilized all my jars, my rings, my lids, all my utensils that I'm gonna use. So we're gonna go ahead and start filling our jars. So this little guy here is to tell you how much headspace that you have. And it'll say on a recipe, like for this one, I need 1/4 inch of headspace, which is this first little notch right here. So if I've got that much space all the way around, I'm doing pretty good. So it looks like I've got that in all of my jars. I had to take a little bit out of some of them, but they look good right now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a paper towel, we're going to wipe all of the rims of these, and then put the lids and then put the rings on them. You don't want anything on your rim, because if you have something there, it will not seal properly. So now we're going to take and we're going to put our lids on them. And these are sterilized, they've been in boiling water. We're going to go ahead and put these rings on, and we're just going to kind of get them hand tight. So they're on hand tight. You got to make sure they're on straight so that they seal properly. And then now we're going to take you back over to the water bath, and we're going to put these jars into the water bath. All right, so I had some water in here heating up, but I didn't have enough because you want the water to cover all of the tops of these. So we're going to add some more water in here. And now we're going to let that come up to heat, and then we're going to let it boil for 10 minutes. And then we'll take these jars out and we'll set them out. All right, so there we are. We've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pints of apple butter. And if you listen, maybe you'll hear one, but you'll hear that pop noise when when it seals. That's like the most satisfying sound ever. So that's how you do apple butter. Like I said, if you don't have the hand crank mill like I have, oh, there it goes. You can always use like your KitchenAid mixer. You can use one of the smaller like hand crank sieves. You can core and peel your apples and use and a stick blender, immersion blender, or you could use just a regular blender if you wanted. So that's how I do my apple butter. Oh, there goes another one. All right, so there you go. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, leave the comments down below. I'll try to remember to put the recipe down there for you. I think that's it. More updates as we go. Bye.